So welcome to race 2 of the Asia Talent Cup here in Motegi. As you can see, conditions are still a little bit. No, actually, sorry, these are yesterday's conditions that we had. I believe slightly nicer weather there for the race number 1 that actually took place after qualifying. You see just a little bit of wind there. 5 kilometers an hour, blowing them just into that back straight there. But sorry, I was a little bit confused there. No, we are in the current conditions at the moment. Dylan Gray with you and Matthew Burt alongside me. We have the riders on the grid. You can see a slightly damp track out there. It is going to be very, very difficult for them to line up, especially for this man here, Sasaki. He is the championship leader. He could potentially take the title today if he goes into the next races by a margin of 50 points over his main rival, Takuma Kunimine. It's going to be very, very difficult, but he is looking confident. A dry line has formed after MotoGP. We've already had some fantastic races here at the track. It's going to be pretty tough guy. I mean, especially for this man here, Matt. I mean, we've seen Kunimine. He had a very, very difficult race yesterday.
Yeah, it's over to Takuma Kunimine to make sure that this second running of the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup does go on to the final round in a couple of weeks' time at the Malaysian Grand Prix in Sepang. Kunimine, he trails Sasaki by 44 points going into the second round here at the Twin Ring Motegi. Sasaki victorious in yesterday's slightly shortened 10-lap race. Coming up for you, we've got a 15-lap encounter. It's scheduled to go over 15 laps. And yeah, Kunimine, he just got caught up towards the end of yesterday's opening round. He dropped back to 6 after running very strongly at the front, and that's why he's fighting to stay in this championship. There's the man that completed the front row of the grid, Andy Izdihar, the Indonesian, who finished in 7th place. Andy Izdihar, front row of the grid way back at the opening round in Qatar, and he took a victory there, did the 18-year-old Indonesian.
Here we have Fakuri Rostam, the Malaysian rider, number 17 there. He was struggled a little bit. He was up there in the early stages of the race yesterday, but just dropped off towards the end, finished in 8th. That's certainly not where he's going to want to be, but he is 12th in the championship, so he's not going to be making an awful lot of points. But this is the man we should be looking out for today, Ai Ogura. The Japanese youngster, he was the one who was sticking it to Sasaki right until the very last corners. Yeah,
it was a great battle for the victory in that opening 10-lap encounter yesterday. Ai Ogura, 3 successive podium finishes now for the Japanese teenagers. Only 14 years of age is the number 9. Completing the second row of the grid is at Kaita Fusei. 15th in the championship on 30 points. Now, he had a really difficult race yesterday. Well, in fact, he crashed out, didn't he?
Nasty high side, yeah.
That was a really nasty incident involving Ryusai Yamanaka as well. That was... they were pretty well placed, weren't they, in that lead group? We talked about Fakruzi Rostam, and it was an 8th place finish for him. He was only 1.2 seconds behind Sasaki. It was a typically frenetic Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup round. We hope for more of the same here today at the Twin Ring Motegi. Tricky conditions, though, much different to yesterday. It was a late race that the riders had yesterday, but it was dry. And if you've seen any of the scintillating action, we won't spoil it for you, in the earlier Japanese Grand Prix World Championship races, we've had
so tough
mixed conditions. We had wet races in Moto 3 and Moto 2, and then a drying track for MotoGP. So yeah, these will be very tricky conditions for these young riders to contend with. They will not have had much experience of riding in these conditions, and when you think that they race in the likes of Thailand, in Qatar, in Sepang, where you don't get a lot of wet races.
No, not at all. Absolutely right. You know, especially there, the number 2 Masaki, who we saw in the grid, because he got caught out very early on yesterday evening. Alongside him, Adam Norodin, and here we see Yuta Date. He's another rider who got a little bit tangled up. What's going to be extra tough for them, Matt, is we have a little bit of a dry line, but this dry line is the width of a MotoGP tyre. That's you know, that's the issue. If they start racing, the person on that line will naturally have a much bigger advantage. So they're going to be wrestling a little bit just to try and get on there. But they'll have to be so careful not to go off it. And great to see that some fans have remained behind to support the local talent.
Yeah, a crowd of almost 51,000 fans attended the Japanese Grand Prix earlier on today. And as Dylan said, really good to see that quite a few of them have stayed to watch potential Grand Prix stars of the future. Of course, the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup, a Dorna initiative in association with Shell Advance to try and unearth young talent from the Asia Pacific region. It looks like Ayumu Sasaki making a big name for himself. We'll keep an eye on that name for the future. There he is, the number 22.
Yeah, the number...
Sorry, that's Yamanaka. Yeah, he was the rider that was involved in that really nasty crash at the final corner. But coming back to Ayumu Sasaki, of course, we know that he's been also building his experience overseas in the European Championship, the Red Bull Rookies MotoGP Cup, and he in fact finished third in that championship. Took a victory. We talked about riders in this field that might not have a lot of wet weather experience. If you cast your minds back to what was a rain-lashed British Grand Prix at Silverstone, Dylan. Well, the Red Bull Rookies Cup, they had a support race there, and Ayumu Sasaki took his only win in really wet conditions. So let's keep an eye on him.
And those were
that was
really,
proper wet.
Well, that was swimming pool wet. I mean, that was really tough. And do you know what? He's a confident guy. You know, he's got a certain aura about him. He's only 15 years old. You know, we often forget how young these guys are, and you know, an awful lot of confidence there. And he's on the outside of the track. He is essentially on the best line. So you can imagine he'll be trying to get to the front and then pull away. Because if there is one race where you could potentially do that, it will be now. Yeah,
what a moment in that young man's career. As Dylan said, 15 years of age. He does come into this race with a 44-point advantage over Takuma Kinimine. And what a place to wrap up the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup in your home country, in your home round here at the Twin Ring Motegi. He's unbeaten here, actually, in the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup, is Ayumu Sasaki, because there was only one round here last year on the support round to the Japanese Grand Prix. He won that. Of course, he won yesterday, so he's defending a 100% winning record in the Talent Cup here at the Twin Ring Motegi. And no better place, of course, to wrap up the championship here on home soil. We'd love it if he could go to those final two rounds at the Sepang International Circuit in Malaysia in a couple of weeks' time, with the championship already signed and sealed.
Well, yeah, exactly. You know, you're just going to be riding with so much more calm. But this situation is going to tell his mentors, the people in charge of the championship, an awful lot about his character. How calm can he stay? Can he stay cool under this pressure? Can he maybe yield if he has to? You know, we've often seen young guys easy to lose their head and say, look, you know, I've really got to win this championship. I've just got to go for it. But sometimes knowing that there are still this race and then two races left, maybe it is best just to, you know, take it easy and let some of the aggressive guys go past. As we just head out for our final sighting lap before we get underway, there you can see that dry line that's formed.
Yeah, so 15 laps of this 2.983 miles Twin Ring Motegi circuit. Sasaki chasing a second successive victory, which would give him a great chance to win at the 2015 Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup. Keep an eye out, though, for Guru. Jerry Salim, of course, the Indonesian, we didn't mention him. He was at third place yesterday. He was only half a second back of Guru at the end of that race, and that moved Salim up into fourth place in the championship. That early mistake yesterday by Kazuki Masaki, that ended Masaki's championship challenge. He did recover to finish 18th. So we've got a 20-rider field here for race 2 at the Twin Ring Motegi. Will Ayumu Sasaki there, number 22, be celebrating tonight. We have seen a Grand Prix World Champion, of course, crowned here this weekend in Moto 2.
Friday lunchtime.
Yeah, and a man who started in a series not too dissimilar to this, of course, Johan Zarco, who came up through the Red Bull Rookies Cup system in Europe. So, and this is kind of like the equivalent, of course, in the Asia-Pacific region. This Dorna-led initiative, as we say, to find the young stars from Japan, from Indonesia, from the Philippines, from Australia, of course, and New Zealand. It's a great initiative to see young stars, and when you look at the people involved as well, the likes of Alberto Puig, Hiroshi Ayama, we know what a kingmaker Alberto Puig is. He was influential in the careers of Danny Pedrosa, Casey Stoner, Tony Elias. They didn't do too badly, did
No,
they?
not at all. Not at all.
Grand Prix World Championships.
And it's and it's great that they all get, shall we say, equal amounts of advice. It's not like Alberto Puig says, right, Sasaki's the fastest, he's my favourite, I'm just going to train him up to win things now. So here we take a look at the championship standing. So Sasaki leads by 44 points from Kunimine. As we said, he does. If he wins by 50 points now, technically, if he doesn't win this race here, and Kunimine was to win the last 3, then yes, of course, they could be tied. Then Kunimine could potentially have more wins. So we do have to keep you posted throughout the race as to as to how these championship standings are, what it would have to be points-wise for him to take the title. However, I think Sasaki is just going to want to say, look, let me just do it by more than 50 points, and then it's an absolute certain. Yeah,
this will be a real test for these young riders, because as you can see on that warm-up lap, a clear dry line has emerged around this twin ring Motegi circuit. It's been a while now since we've had any rain falling on this Honda-owned venue. Of course, a couple of hours drive from the Japanese capital of Tokyo.
So here we go. Getting ready for the 15-lap race. As you can see, it is a damp track. We have a dry line formed. Look to your left there, the number 22 bike. He will be on the slightly favourable part of the surface. They are all on wet Bridgestone tyres. As we get underway, the red lights go on, revs up. Who will get the best start?
Good start from pole position by Ayumi Sasaki, number 23 there though, on the inside. That's a good start by Andy Izdihar from 3rd place. It will be Izdihar that sweeps across Agu, the number 9, to lead this 15-lap race into the first corner. It's advantage Izdihar, the Indonesian.
Yeah, absolutely amazing start there from Ogura from the 2nd row of the grid. You see the spray still being kicked up there and then getting onto this dry line, but Izdihar will lead into this first turn, turn number 3. They're going to try and stay on that dry line as much as they possibly can. If you get off it, it's just going to prolong your braking distance. Fling it round turn number 4, then come onto this very tight. Ooh, that was a bit of a moment there. Couldn't quite see for who. Was that number 4? Was that the number 14, Zhu? Quite possibly.
So number 22, Ayumi Sasaki, first match point to win this championship. He's kept himself out of trouble in the first 5 or 6 corners of this race. They drop under the tunnel, under the famous twin ring Motegi Indy Oval here in Japan. It's Sasaki that's in 3rd place behind Ayaguru. They're just trying to stick with their leader, Andy Izdihar.
Yeah, I think the important thing is now we need to keep a look at Kunimine, who is just tucked in behind Sasaki. That is the number 21. Essentially, look out, number 22 versus number 21. But as we just say that, the number 2 bike of Masaki, who had an awful start last time out in the race, just squeezes it up the inside of Kunimine. Certainly not good news for the number 21 rider.
Well, they only had the warm-up lap to really assess these tricky conditions here at the twin ring Motegi, and you have to say that Andy Izdihar has got adapted very, very quickly, because he's already 1.1 seconds clear of the chasing pack as they flock down to this tricky turn number 11. You can clearly see there that dry line about a metre wide in the braking zone as Sasaki now moves up into 2nd place ahead of number 9, Ayaguru.
They're essentially picking up exactly where they left off yesterday, aren't they, Sasaki and Ogura? But again, Masaki, he's the big surprise. We obviously didn't get to see his potential yesterday because he ran wide on turn 1 in turn number 3. He's not repeated that mistake again. So it's Izdihar who leads the way after the first lap, crosses the finish line, has a margin of 1.5 seconds over Sasaki, Ogura, Masaki, then Kunimine in 5th, Fuse, Anwar, Rostam, Norodin and Salim. Those are your top 10.
Kazuki Masaki pretty aggressive up the inside of Ayagura at that first corner. So it's Sasaki in 2nd place, but nobody's got the early pace of number 23, Andy Izdihar, who started from 3rd place on the grid.
Yeah,
He's already opened up a lead, as Dylan said, of over 1.5 seconds. He'll come through the first split any moment now. We'll see what his advantage is over Sasaki. It's now up to over 2 seconds. It's a blistering early pace being set by the number 23.
Absolutely storming ahead. The big question is, though, Matt, will tyre conservation come into play? We know they're on wet tyres. Wet tyres are designed for a wet track. If they don't cool down enough, they can start degrading, especially if you're on a dry line. Oh, and that is a big moment there for Anwar, the Malaysian rider. Good that he managed to hold on to that coming out of the final turn.
Yeah, that just shows just how tricky still these track conditions are. Just trying to squeeze on the power a fraction too early. The rear just starts to spin up. Didn't come around and thankfully flick him over the high side. And there is number 2, Kazuki Masaki. Crashed out of the race yesterday. As we said, that pretty much ended his championship challenge. He's 69 points behind Ayumu Sasaki. Sasaki still coming under real pressure from the 14-year-old Agura, who's finished inside the top 2 in the last 3 races. He's really, it's almost like when he got that first podium at the last round in the Zhuhai International Circuit in China, like a light switch going off in his brain. It just gave him the confidence that he needed. I can do it. Well, I can fight at the front with these guys, and that's all it's taken. He's right up there again in the battle. There's Kanimine, the closest rival to Sasaki, in 5th place at the moment, but he's struggling to run the pace of that top 4. There's the man who's the runaway leader in this 15-lap race. Bit of a twitch as he came through victory corner for Andy Izdihar, but he's got a comfortable lead as they come to complete the 2nd lap.
Yeah, pulled out, well, it's a 2 point, let's have a look, so it's 2.6 after 2.5 seconds essentially is his lead now. He would be very comfortable just to sit at the front and manage that. The great thing is, Matt, when you're leading these kinds of races, you get to pick your lines. You've got no one behind you. He just had a little glimpse there. It's that chasing group. They're the ones that are going to have to be patient, and they are a lot more behaved than they are yesterday, and that is purely to do with the fact that the second you go offline, it becomes a lot more slippery. So down into 20, down to 21, Kunimine, we have a little group that's formed now, and just behind him is the number 15 bike of Keita Fuse. He had that unfortunate high side, and then behind him, so he's running by himself, and then behind him a group led by Jerry Salim, the number 4 bike.
Well, having built up that pretty comfortable lead, Andy Izdihar, it's up to almost 3 seconds now. It's all going to be about how he can manage the tyre life on this drying track with those wet tyres. He's broken up the field, though, in the early part of this race. He'll come up to turn number 7 now to complete this 2nd split. He's through it now, Izdihar. It's Masaki in 2nd place, and the gap is now up to 2.9 seconds. Masaki, he's chasing, he's the 15-year-old. It was his worst finish of the year in yesterday's opening round, that 18th place, when he had the early crash in the first race. 3 podium finishes so far for Masaki, the best of 2nd place in China.
Yeah, I mean, Masaki essentially yesterday did still have quite a bit of a chance to catch Kunimine for 2nd place in the championship, but I think those hopes are pretty much gone after he did struggle so much. However, he is fighting back very, very well, leading that 2nd group. I think they do well just to sit behind Masaki, really try and run his pace. I mean, they are still about, I mean, you know, look, they are still about 8/10 of what Izdihar is managing to do at the front. So until one of those guys in the group can match that time and maybe try and pull them along, you can't really see them catching up.
Yeah, the Japanese fans that have stayed behind to watch this 15-lap Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup race, they'll be pretty happy to see these 4 Japanese riders fighting it out in this intense battle for 2nd place. There's Andy Izdihar, the man who's leading this race, number 23. He's down into the 2.11s now. Is Izdihar. He's 3.5 seconds clear of Masaki in 2nd place. A further 3/10 back is the championship leader, Sasaki. Yeah, Kanimine, as Dylan said, Kanimine is the man to keep a close eye on in terms of the championship battle, because if it stays as is, Sasaki 3rd and Kanimine in 5th, then the championship will roll over to the penultimate round in Malaysia.
That was just Atirat Puvapat just going past Rasol for 14th place. Not the kind of performance we would expect from Atirat Puvapat. Yesterday he actually managed to finish in 5th place, had a very good race. Also not the best start, but he was certainly closer to the leading group at this particular point in the race. To try and make up those 12 seconds, it would be very, very difficult. And here we take a look at the podium sitter. He finished 3rd, Jerry Salim. He's in that group. Chasing 8th place at the moment. But look at this, Izdihar almost a second faster than everyone else.
Yeah, the only other rider, or the only other 2 riders in the 2.11s on that previous lap with Andy Izdihar were Sasaki in 3rd and Kanimine in 5th place. So through turn number 9 is the race leader, Izdihar. That group of 4 being in pursuit. Just number 2, Masaki, and number 22, Sasaki. They're just looking to edge away from Agura and Kanimine.
Yeah, I mean, but look how dry some of those areas are. That was just coming into turn number 10. You know, there's some, you know, we are now finding it's it's not really a wet track. It's a damp / drying track. The good thing is though, Matt, in these kinds of championships, they don't give you different tyres. You're not going to have someone who's gone out on slicks. And there was just a pass in the background there. Was that Kunimine on Ogura?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, there he is, number 21, Kunimine, then takes 4th place from Ogura. So that means that Kunimine will cut the gap down to Sasaki. We'll check the gap between number 22. There is Sasaki in 3rd place. They complete lap number 4. Izdihar, quickest man on the track again. He's now into the low 2:10s. Masaki and Sasaki, they are also into the high 2:10s. They are just looking to stretch away from Kunimine. Ogura desperately trying to hang into this battle for the podium.
Yeah, the overall pace picking up across the board. This is partly going to be because of the track drying, but also because they'll be getting used to these kinds of conditions. The problem for the likes of Masaki, Sasaki and Kunimine is that Izdihar is the man who's essentially making the most of those conditions. He's running with no pressure whatsoever, so he's always going to be chipping away, finding more tenths earlier on than these guys. It's going to be so tough for them to try and catch him.
Andy Izdihar, how's your concentration? How's your focus? 11 laps to go. Izdihar's not in championship contention. He's down in 7th place in the standings coming into this twin ring Motegi second race. But yeah, he's still got an outside chance of certainly snatching 3rd place. He's only 22 points behind Atarat Puvapat. And with Izdihar at the moment scheduled to claim, 25 points. Atarat Puvapat way down the order in 14th. That's a 23-point swing possibly between those two riders. Of course, Jerry Salim, he's running in 8th. There's a pretty good battle actually going on behind that quartet of Japanese riders battling for 2nd, with Yuta Date, Noruddin, Salim and Anwar Fusay also involved, as is Ross Stam. That's the battle for 6th.
And if anyone's wondering whether Izdihar has what it takes to win a race, well, yes, he does, because Matt, you remember, I think we were both commenting on that particular race. It was the second one in Qatar. I mean, loads of things happening there, but that is where Izdihar took his first and only win of the season. So he certainly does have what it takes. But can these men catch up with him? Oh, look at that. Sasaki's already starting to have a look up the inside. The drier that line gets, the wider it gets, the more bravery I think we're going to see going into the turns.
I seem to recall, casting my mind back to the end of March. Seems like a long time ago when Izdihar did take that win. He did, yeah. But if my memory serves me right, he won it by the width of a front tyre. It was an unbelievably close race, wasn't it? Yes. Sail International Circuit.
Yeah, because you had a load of guys wobbling around to try and avoid the slipstream, and I think Izdihar just stood the bike up, kept it straight, kept it pinned, and then won it.
So all that lead group, Izdihar's clear by over 4 seconds. The top 5 riders in this race, they've all dropped into the 2:10s. Just to give you an idea of how this track is drying out, the pole position time set by Yuma Sasaki was a 2:02.208, so they're just about 8 seconds off full dry pace. There you can see confirmation of the standings. If the checkered flag was thrown now, then we would need to go to the next round, the Sepang International Circuit in Malaysia. Not enough points at the moment for Sasaki to be crowned champion today.
Yeah, I think Sasaki would certainly need something to happen to Izdihar at the front to do that. I think, well, actually saying that, all he really needs to do is pass Masaki, because that would give him 4 more points, and then the difference would be 51. So it'll be interesting to see what his pit board's telling him right now. 2nd place enough, but then of course Kunimine could also get past. So such an interesting battle, especially as they're not at the head of the group. Any position change isn't gonna change quite as many points as they would if they were right at the top.
Yeah, there he is, Kunimine, the man who's 44 points. The young man, I keep saying man, the young man, of course. Kunimine, he's only 17 years of age.
Well, probably a man compared to a lot of the other younger people within the class.
The youngest rider in this field is a 13-year-old. Ryusai Yamanaka. He is the youngest of this 20 riders.
13,
he's only 13, yeah.
God, imagine that.
Yeah, he was caught up in that nasty-looking crash at the final corner in yesterday's race with Yuta Date.
It seems like Ogura's just starting to drop off a little bit from this group. He was part of that foursome for quite some time, but he's just not quite managing to keep up the pace. Although possibly something happened on this lap, Matt, because actually last time out Ogura was quicker than Masaki and Sasaki. So I wonder whether he had a bit of a moment.
Yeah, let's just check his lap time. He was over a second behind Kinimine. Kinimine actually on the number 21. He's just set the best lap of the race, a 2:10.038, as he desperately tries to keep that championship alive. There you can see that's the battle to 22 and 21. It's Agura that's just dropped off the back of that fight for second place. You can just see him there peeling through turn number 3. He's 1.4 seconds behind Kinimine in 4th. Yuta Darte and Adam Norradine. They've broken up that pack behind them. Darte and Norradine are fighting it out for 6th, and you have to go, well, 2.2 seconds back then to Anwar, who's in 8th place.
Yeah, Anwar, Fusay and Salim, the podium sitter from last time out there, battling for that 8th place. So really finding some small groups forming here. Not like yesterday, Matt. Yesterday was a real almost Moto3 style shootout. If you remember, 8 bikes or so, almost right until the very end. But then again, you know, you've got to give them credit. In these tricky conditions, it's going to be so difficult. And you know, their mentors, Hiroshi Oyama, Alberto Puig, are going to be paying an awful lot of attention to see just how quickly they can adapt. And Istihar is doing himself some very big favours with this performance.
Yeah, he still leads this 15-lap race by over 4 seconds. We've got 9 laps to go. We're on lap number 7. And as we mentioned, the number 9, Ayagura, he's finding it really difficult to stay with this pack. Somebody's running out wide there. That's through turn number 10.
Which is right, that was number 2, Masaki.
Well, he made a mistake, didn't he, when he crashed out on the very first lap in yesterday's race, and it's another mistake today that's dropped him to 4th.
So this is now Sasaki being champion. Well, was. Now we have Kunimine passed on the brakes into turn number 11. I mean, Matt, we couldn't have asked for any more. This is the fight we want to see. They're separated by so fewer points.
Yeah, Kinimine really can throw caution to the wind, can't he? 44 points behind. All he's got to do is try and beat Sasaki. Can he try and get away? Push Sasaki into making a mistake, just like we saw there for Masaki. Istihar's over the line to start lap number 8. 4.7 seconds he is clear of Kinimine. Then it is Sasaki. Masaki lost about half a second with that mistake up at turn number 10. There he is, the number 2. He's just going to run it in. Oh, brilliant save. Amazing. Awesome save. The front end had completely washed away there from Masaki. Almost crashed out for the 2nd race in a row here at the Twin Ring Motegi. Marc Marquez would have been proud of that save, wouldn't he?
Very much so, very much so. Well, these guys have probably been watching Marc Marquez do that since the the last couple of years.
It wasn't quite a pick-up on his knee and his elbow, but it was a really impressive save. There's the race leader then, number 23, Izdihar. Kinimine desperately trying to keep the championship alive. He's in 2nd place. Masaki's recovered that half a second really quick. He's piling the pressure again now on Sasaki.
Well, I think now Kunimine could really do for a favour from Masaki to get himself in between there. Look at that, just so hard on the brakes. Absolutely amazing job there from Kunimine. You could just see the vibration going into the turn. That's how hard he was doing it, and still managed to control the bike, tip it into the turn. Fantastic images there. And it does look like Kunimine looks more comfortable. And Masaki gets past Sasaki. So Sasaki really dropping off the back now. Can he maybe not keep the pace? Has he maybe used up a little bit too much tyre, or is he just biding his time?
There's Kinimine then, the number 21. He was 3rd overall in the inaugural Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup last year. 3 podium finishes, including 1 win at Sepang. He is trying to make a break. He's got his tyres up to temperature. He's obviously got into his groove, got into his rhythm, and he's stretching away from Sasaki and Masaki. They close up though on the brakes down into turn number 11.
Yeah, into this tight right-hander can really suck you in down that fast downhill straight. Then they bring it round left through turn number 12 and 13, really taking us one turn. This is where we saw yesterday's race decided, and then tip it right through Victory Corner. Now onto this main straight. You're not really going to slipstream your way past anyone if you're behind them, which is why if you are going to win the race in that final turn, you're going to have to do so in in turn number 14. We tip it in. That was Masaki having a little look up the inside of Kunimine, but decided against it at the end. Will he try again coming into this turn number 3? And look at that, we have Sasaki cooling his tyres. He is purposely going onto that wet patch to cool his wet tyres.
Yeah, we've just passed the halfway point of this 15-lap race, and you do get a feeling now we're coming into the territory where those tyres are really going to start overheating. So yeah, you can clearly see there Sasaki was looking for some wet tarmac just to try and cool down those tyres, they'll be turning to jelly pretty quickly. You know, wet tyres on a drying track, they just start to overheat so quickly. You lose grip pretty much. Well, there's a big drop-off, isn't there? Wet tyres just simply don't work in dry conditions.
Well,
it burns off the tread, doesn't it?
The main reason being is that they need to be designed with an extremely low operating temperature from about 20 odd degrees. That's where they need to work from. So they that's why you obviously can't have too big a temperature range, but they could really struggle. And I think we just got a message up there saying that Srimontree has crashed out, but rider okay.
Let's have a little check a bit further back down the field as Andy Izdihar comes into turn number 10 in complete control of this race. Jerry Salim, the rider who we saw third place in the race yesterday, he's finding it a little bit of a difficult challenge in these mixed conditions. He's down in 10th place. He's just set a personal best lap of the race at 2:11.318. There you go, though. Kanimine at the moment looking to claw back 3 points on Sasaki in the championship battle, so it would be 41 points in favour of Sasaki going into the final 2 rounds at the Sepang International Circuit in Malaysia in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, but you do wonder, the way Sasaki's riding, he looks like he's just saving those tyres for a push in those final laps. We've often said it, he really has a mature head on those young shoulders. That's what comes, that's the news from inside the Asia Talent Cup camp. They say Sasaki, probably one of the cleverest racers, and he's really starting to show that. Cooling those tyres, is that going to be a stroke of genius come the final lap?
Yeah, there he is again, just looking for that strip of wet tarmac. He's doing a good job though, Kanimine, trying to make sure this championship does go on to the final couple of races.
Well, I think for the fans would obviously be nice. I think the only person who really wants this championship to go over now is the number 22 bike, Sasaki.
Yeah, and he's in a luxury position, Sasaki, because he knows that he doesn't have to take any silly risks, don't do anything stupid to throw away what would be a pretty valuable 13 points at the moment. With Kanimine's main championship rival just in front of him, he knows that he's not going to eat too many points into that championship lead. It's a great fight actually with 6 laps to go for second place. This Japanese trio, Masaki, Kanimine and Sasaki. Ayagura, who's right in this battle for second, 2 or 3 laps to go. It looks like Aguru pushing hard to keep himself in that battle, just overheated his tyres somewhat because he's dropped back now 3.6 seconds behind Sasaki. It's only the top 4, actually Yuta Date actually just did a personal best lap of the race in 7th, the 2:10.430. That was only a 1/10 of a second behind the pace being set by the race leader Andy Izdihar. Date looking to close that gap on Adam Norridin.
Well, yeah, I think maybe Date must have had a bit of a problem there, Matt, because him and Norridin were very close together just a couple of laps ago, but Norridin now about a second and a half ahead. In the meantime, the group with Anwar Salim and Fusay, they are still going at it. But this is the group that we need to see for the championship. The number 21, Kanimine, who's currently leading, he is the one. He is the only other person with a real chance for it. Masaki sits in between the man who leads the championship, Sasaki, the number 22 bike, who looks to be biding his time, mature riding, cooling his tyres on the wet track. But we must not forget the man leading, Andy Izdihar, with a margin of 5.5 seconds now.
Yeah, so Kanimine, he has finally taken second spot from Masaki. He was just a little marginally quicker on that last lap than Izdihar, the race leader. 5 laps to go. It's going to have to be a huge mistake, you feel, by Andy Izdihar to throw away the chance to take the victory here in this second race at the Twin Ring Motegi, down to the braking zone for turn number 3.
Yeah, but like you say, Matt, and we don't want to give anything away in terms of results, but front tyre degradation has played a part at times. Will it play a part in this final stage? And there we just had Masaki signalling, stay behind me, but I don't think that's going to be their intention, because anyone who thinks they're going to catch Izdihar, I think they'll be a bit mistaken now. He really does look like the dominant man, and he's not dropping off the pace. No,
measured, controlled, calm and collected in these tricky, treacherous conditions. It's so easy to make a mistake. Kanimine under real pressure from Masaki and Sasaki.
We had Masaki there leading down the home straight, but Kanimine straight passing. And I honestly think this is really playing into the hands of Sasaki. He sat there. He hasn't even attempted a move. He's even just weaving his way around, finding a bit of wet track here and there, cooling the tyres. You'd imagine Sasaki will just be waiting for those, maybe on the penultimate lap, he might not want to wait right until the very end to do so.
These three riders, they're well accustomed to finishing on the podium this season. 3 rostrums for the number 2, Motegi. 7 podiums this year for the championship leader, Sasaki. That includes 3 wins in those 7 podiums. And the man in second place in the rankings, number 21, Kinimine. He's had 3 podium finishes as well, including a victory. So they know what it takes to finish on the rostrum in this Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup. 4 and a bit laps to go. Andy Izdiar will be up the road about to start lap number 12.
And here we have, is it a runoff or a fall? It doesn't look like a crash.
Oh, it's Izdiar.
It's Izdiar.
The race leader, well, we said it was going to take a massive mistake to deny Izdiar the chance to win this race. That's at the last corner. Andy Izdiar, he was just ahead. We couldn't see him out of the shot of Sasaki. Kinimine and Motegi went through that final corner. Just out of shot, obviously, was the race leader, Andy Izdiar. He was 5.4 seconds clear of this race. He's thrown it away big style. And what it means is it's now a fight, a more exciting fight, because Izdiar was so far clear. It's a 3-rider shootout now between Kinimine, Motegi and Sasaki. It's being led again by the number 2, Motegi, who's got himself back to the front.
Yeah, I mean, Kunimine now knows he's got to go for the win. He's just, because if he gets that win, then he can at least start pulling back. Then that's going to give him a lot more of a chance, because that then obviously changes the whole championship situation, because then it's not just to do with the points, it's to do with how many wins do they have, how many wins could they potentially have.
Yeah, nice move on the brakes by Motegi up the inside of Kinimine. That was down at turn number 3. What a mistake, though, by the race leader, Andy Izdiar. He got a great launch off the line from the front row of the grid in 3rd. He'd led the whole of this race until that really, really costly crash at turn number 13. Well, it was victory corner, and that cost him the chance of victory. And we said it was just at the time when we just commentators curse, wasn't it? We said how cool and collected he'd look. It just shows how easy it is to make a mistake.
No, of course. Oh, and this was Sasaki showing his hand. This was Sasaki really attempting the first move. That was just up through turn number 6, that very, very fast right-hander. But we joined them once again down into this turn number 11. This is essentially where it was decided yesterday. Yesterday it was Agura versus Sasaki on the brakes, and then through these turns here. This time out, is it going to be Sasaki, Motegi or Kunimine? Will it be all 3 getting side by side?
Well, Sasaki will be pretty mindful as they cross the line to complete lap number 12 that he finishes 2nd place at the front of this group, in the lead, and he will take the championship. That's what will be at the back of his mind. He won't want to take any unnecessary risk. Motegi, though, leads the way. He's rebounded brilliantly from that crash on the first lap yesterday. The quickest man yet again on track, though, is the number 6, Yuta Date, in 6th place. He's just set the best lap of the race, 2:09.460. So that dry line drying up more and more as this race goes on. This is the battle back at the front. But Date, yeah, he's closed right up now. He's only 0.2 of a second behind Adam Norradine. That's the battle for 5th place. And those two are, Norradine's 1.5 seconds behind Agura in 4th place. So Agura might just have enough in his pocket to hold on to that 4th place. It'll be the first time he's missed a podium in 4 rounds.
Yeah, Agura looked so strong, and I mean he's been getting better quite a bit. He even he actually won the last race before coming out here to Japan in China, and passing all over again. Kunimine and Sasaki both passed Motegi. That was round turn number 7 as they bring it round through turn number 8. Hard braking zone now into turn number 9. This newly asphalted corner for this year, but no one attempts to go up the inside there. Do you know what I think also, Matt? This darker asphalt, riders have commented, it gives them less confidence because they think it's wetter than the other parts of the track, even though it might not be.
Yeah, Motegi got caught napping up there at turn number 7 because not only Kinimine swept underneath him, Sasaki did as well. So 3 laps to go. It's Kinimine, the number 21, that leads. Tucks in, tries to make himself as aerodynamic as he possibly can on this run down to turn number 11. As it stands, Kinimine will be 39 points behind Sasaki. Sasaki, though, uses the slipstream to perfect effect. He's now the race leader. This is where he took the lead yesterday, right at the end of the race, to deny Ogura. So Sasaki trying to wrap up this Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup crown. We're just about to start the penultimate lap. It will be Sasaki from Kinimine from Masaki.
Yeah, across the finish line, down to turn number 1, another hard braking zone. Masaki just up the inside of Kinimine. That is not what Kinimine needs right now. Just making use of the slipstream once again. They are now starting to fight it out. There are 2 laps left in this race. We saw Sasaki cooling his tyres earlier on in the damp patches. Has he conserved them slightly better than the rest? He will now try and pull a lead. He will try and maintain that. How can Masaki and how can Kinimine respond as they come out of turn number 4 and fire it towards turn number 5?
22, Sasaki leads, and with Kinimine back in 3rd place, that is championship sealed and signed for the number 22. He's under pressure again though. Masaki, really nice clinical move up the inside on the brakes into turn number 5. So it's Masaki now back at the front, and while this battle's going on for the top 3, you just caught a glimpse there of Ogura. They're coming slightly back into contention. Yuta Date, he's the man on the charge. He's picked off Adam Norradine with another lap of 2:09.395. He's now right up on the rear tyre of Ogura. They're 3.3 seconds back of this battle, so they are going to run out of time, you feel.
Oh, Masaki up on the inside, stabs it on the inside of Sasaki. Just coming out up towards that hairpin corner. Is anyone going to attempt to move up on the inside? No, they're not quite close enough. Maybe Kinimine on Sasaki. No, not close enough. Now it's going to be all about the drive out and who can get the slipstream. But Masaki has got a nice little lead there. Do you think Sasaki's actually going to manage that?
Hard to call this one, then. It's going to be a really, really exciting finish. The championship on the line then in this Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup. There is Ogura and Date. The reason why Ogura and Date are not with Adam Norradine. Adam Norradine has crashed out. He has rejoined the race, the number 10. He was in 6th place. Masaki, he is going to lead at the end of this penultimate lap. Masaki then looking to take the victory. We're about to start lap number 15. The championship on the line for number 22, Sasaki. As it stands, though, Sasaki won't have done enough to win the championship with Kinimine in 3rd. What about this, though, with Ogura and Date? They're closing right up on this battle. They're 1.8 seconds behind Kinimine now. This race for the podium, for the win, possibly not over, because Ogura on the last lap, he was a full second quicker than the race leader Masaki.
Yeah, they have amazing pace in the back there. All this fighting going on between those top 3 is really letting Ogura and Date back into the fight. You can just see them, but of course they are also fighting each other. I still think it's going to be very, very tough for them to catch up, but nonetheless, it's this battle here at the front. Masaki leads from Sasaki and Kinimine. Sasaki is going to have to pull something out of the bag. He's going to have to make a move, and he does.
Is that a move that will make Sasaki the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup champion of 2015? Because with Kinimine in 3rd place, it means that the number 22, Sasaki, will be crowned the champion. It's all going to come down to the final few corners. They come through turn number 7 now. Sasaki leads the way. Kinimine's got to find a way through on Masaki.
Oh, he tried. He really tried. Kinimine didn't quite make it. He's going to have to try again as we come up into turn number 9. What about Masaki? Masaki's lining it up. Tries on the brakes, not quite close enough now. The next chance is the hairpin. They are not going to have many opportunities left.
Kinimine might get a good slipstream behind the both of them down this long back straight. Masaki will have a look up the inside of Sasaki down to turn number 10. No way through. Brilliant aggressive defensive riding from the front by the man who could wrap up the championship, Sasaki. Down the back straight, the crucial slipstream.
It is all going to come down to this, Matt. Who is going to go into this corner last? Who can break the hardest? Look, they are completely offline by Sasaki.
Sasaki.
Perfect driving.
Yeah, he's defending.
Oh,
that's
no.
it. That's the championship over. Kinimine has crashed out at turn number 11 and gone with it as his slim championship hopes. Sasaki is going to take a possible second place behind Motegi. He won't know that Kinimine big moment for Sasaki. He had no idea that behind him Kinimine had crashed out. Motegi's going to take the checkered flag. Second place to Sasaki, and the 15-year-old Japanese rider wins the 2015 Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup. It did come down to a nail-biting finale, just as we predicted, and it was unfortunate that Kinimine crashed out on that final lap. Sasaki, he will now realise it would just be as he looks across to the big screen to see that he's finished second, and with Kinimine out, Sasaki is the 2015 Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup champion.
And also, what a ride by Yuta Date, considering how far back he was, that he only finished 1.1 seconds behind the leader. I mean, that was also a phenomenal ride from him. I think we need to give Agura some big credit as well. But yeah, dramatic scenes on that final lap. I mean, you know what? Credit to Kinimine. He tried. You know, he was third coming onto that straight. He had to attempt something. Okay, it went wrong, but these guys, they are so young. They are going to learn so much from this.
There he is then, Ayumu Sasaki, the 2015 Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup winner, the 15-year-old Japanese rider starting to make a big name for himself across the globe. Not only has he taken that championship here in the twin ring Motegi, of course, he was third in the Red Bull Rookies Cup this year as well, with 1 win and 5 podiums, so a star in the making for Japanese fans. You're dead right, Dylan. Kinimine, he knew, having not got close enough to attack Motegi on the brakes down into that final corner, the championship was slipping through his fingers. He had to try a move on the brakes. Here we go.
Just see a replay there, a little bit onto the right. Yep, he was just, he hadn't quite scrubbed off enough speed, couldn't tip it in. And
what he didn't realise, though, that Motegi was going to sweep underneath Sasaki at the penultimate corner here, and actually that move by Motegi with Kinimine, had he stayed on in third, then the championship would have carried on. It's all that could have, would have, should have, if buts and maybes, because the final outcome is Motegi wins round 10 of the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup, and the man behind him, he had a late huge scare. There you go, heart in the mouth for the number 22 Sasaki. He had a glimpse over his shoulder, because at that time he would have thought that Kinimine was going to, look at those grass tracking on the outside there, that's unbelievable.
That's Date.
Look at this, left right.
That's Yuta Date, and he still managed to finish third.
He kept that pin, didn't he?
Yeah.
Fair play to Yuta Date.
We're watching a bit of Rossi Assen action there.
He was. Brilliant for Motegi then to take the win. And at that stage, Ayumu Sasaki didn't realise that he was the newly crowned Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup champion. There is your race winner, Kazuki Motegi, also 15 years of age, from Japan.
Also, Motegi now heading further up the championship standings. Of course, he was in third place. No, sorry. He'd obviously dropped off after yesterday's bad result. So this surely does make up for it quite a bit. He is now he's actually tied on points with Kinimine, both on 117.
Atarat Puvapak was one of the big losers in that race. He was third in the overall rankings going into that 15-lap race, but he only finished at 11th place. He was 26 seconds back of the winner, Motegi. Well, great for the Japanese fans that stayed behind after 3 classic Grand Prix races. That's what it means to the number 2, Motegi. What a way to bounce back after the disappointment, crashing out yesterday. What would happen to his championship challenge, of course, that 18th place yesterday, that cost him dearly in the championship battle. But there he is. It will be sinking in finally now for number 22, Ayumu Sasaki.
I mean, just such a, considering there was a championship at stake to do, he could have easily said, you know what, I'm just going to stick to the back of this group and do it in Malaysia. But he really showed just how, that he is a true champion, how he coped under this pressure. Absolutely phenomenal stuff from the 15-year-old.
Yeah, he's got a bit of fire in his belly. That's what you like to see.
Alberto Puig will like that. He'll see that. He'll be thinking, right, you could be my next Danny, my next Casey.
He wanted to win that championship from the top step of the podium. Second place, though, good enough with that late crash for Kinimine. There is Alberto Puig on the left-hand side, of course, a very distinguished former Grand Prix rider himself, a man who's been so influential in developing the careers of, as we said, Danny Pedrosa, Casey Stoner, Tony Elias, and a handshake and congratulations to the new Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup champion.
A handshake, but then straight away, let's take a look at your rear tyre. Did you push it hard enough? Well, it's quite funny though, because when you do hear about Alberto Puig's comments, he does look at races, and it's not often a case of whether you've won or not. It's how good was your pace. So you can win, but if you've had a rubbish pace, he won't be happy with you.
What about Yuta Date? Brilliant second half to the race for Date, the number 6. He came from absolutely nowhere to get on the podium, and he did it with some amazing throttle control as he was grass tracking coming out of the final corner.
A little bit emotional, I think, there, Date, to be back on the podium again, you know, especially how he'd finished that race.
Yeah, Yuta Date. Of course, he was the runner-up in the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup last year. He took 2 wins and 4 podiums. He won races in Qatar and in China. He's only had 1 podium finish previously this year, so it's been a difficult second season for Date, so good to see him back up on the podium. Some Japanese HRC staff coming to congratulate some potential, perhaps Repsol Honda riders of the future. Who knows where these guys may at one day. That's what it's all about, developing young talent all around the world. And as we said, Ayumu Sasaki, third in that Red Bull Rookies Cup this year, winner of the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup. Definitely one to keep an eye on in the future.
Well, yeah, you wonder whether the first prize is a tour of the Repsol Honda garage now.
Well, it should be.
Should be there, should be able to touch the bike and say this could be yours if you continue on like this. Obviously, from the Asia Talent Cup, we do often see the guys maybe move into the, you know, like CB Repsol series, or, you know, if he's I must admit, I don't know when Sasaki's going to turn 16, but would you do believe he would be eligible for the Moto3 World Championship next year?
Yeah, it's good. Not only obviously is he learning his craft in the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup, he's also doing it in Europe as well. So confirmation then, Kazuki Misaki, a dramatic victory. Late drama here ahead of Ayumu Sasaki, who took the championship thanks to that late crash by Kinimine. Yuta Date, what a recovery by the Japanese rider. He finished on the podium in 3rd place. Ayoguru just missed it out in 4th, and it was Anwar and Rostam, the Malaysian duo, that completed the top 6. Fusei, Jerry Salim, only 8th today after his podium finish yesterday in 8th.
Yeah, and then you had Yamanaka and Istihar rounding at the top 10. Istihar obviously leading for long parts of the race. Then Atirat Puvapat, Asman Noruddin, Zhu Russell, Chen Fukushima, and Khairuddin, younger brother of Zulfami Khairuddin, and Kunimine crashing out right at the very end, and Srimontree, who'd crashed out just about halfway throughout the race.
And we'll see the Riders' Championship, and it means it's all over, and congratulations to Ayumu Sasaki, 181 points, an unassailable lead of 64 points over Misaki and Kinimine. Now, he'll enjoy those final 2 rounds in Malaysia in a couple of weeks' time, Will Sasaki, with the championship already secured. Atirat Puvapat drops down a place to 4th, as does Jerry Salim in 5th. Ayoguru, don't rule him out of that battle for 2nd place. The young Japanese rider is having a great end to the season. Rostam picks up a couple of places to move inside the top 10 in the championship.
Yeah, and then we had Asman and Chantra drop a couple of places, but below that it all remains the same. Yeah, we just have Chen, Zhou, and then obviously Taylor and Owen. They are not no longer in the championship, and Fukushima rounding out the 23rd place. Obviously, their name's still in there because they did take part earlier on in the season. Just about getting ready for the podium, and this is going to be Sasaki's, well, arguably best ever podium of his life. It wasn't a race win like it was yesterday, but it is his first ever championship podium.
Yeah, and a first win. Not forgetting Kazuki Misaki taking that victory. It's his first victory of the season. And sweet for him to achieve that in front of his home crowd. As you say, it was good to see so many of that almost 51,000 strong crowd that were here for the Japanese Grand Prix, that did stay behind to catch a glimpse of these future stars in Japan. Of course, looking to follow in the likes of Hiroshi Ayama, who's a 250cc world champion, the last 250cc world champion. They've got examples like, Tatsuki Suzuki, Hiroki Ono in Moto3 to see that how they've broken into the World Championship.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I think more than anything, they've got to, think of the opportunity that they have with this Asia Talent Cup. Obviously, Yuta Date, he's an example, but that you can't just, you can't just win it one year. You've also got to show that you have consistency, because he has dropped off a tiny little bit. But it'll be very, very interesting to see what Sasaki will be able to do next year.
So third place trophy goes to Yuta Date. It's his second podium finish of the season, equaling his third place a couple of rounds ago in China.
Second place now to our new champion, Ayumu Sasaki. His fourth second place of the season. He's taken 3 wins so far, 1 third place and a 4th, and only 1 DNF.
But the race winner for the first time in 2015, Kazuki Masaki, takes the victory. Masaki wins the battle. Sasaki won the war over the season.
Yeah, but it's certainly going to be a very, very interesting race in Malaysia.
So congratulations to Kazuki Masaki, taking his first win of the season. And a special congratulations to the man standing on his right, to the left-hand side of your picture, Ayumu Sasaki, the new 2015 Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup champion.
So it was Sasaki. He was the man who started from pole. He knew there was a championship at stake, but the man who got away best in this second race this afternoon was Andy Istihar, the number 23 bike. He led into that first turn, and then for some very, very long parts of this race, you can see conditions were still a little bit wetter beforehand. There was only a very, very thin dryish line, so riders really had to start off quite gingerly throughout the race. They're really feeling their way. Lap times were quite slow at the time, but it was Istihar who showed the most composure at the start, and he really was in a league of his own. He was leading by seconds at one point. There was a group forming behind with Sasaki. You had the likes of Masaki, Kunimine as well, and for quite a long time you had Ogura involved, but Ogura then did drop off, and it was Kunimine, Sasaki and Masaki. They were the ones ultimately fighting it out for these championship positions, but in the end, it was very, very difficult because Istihar crashed out. That meant that a title was even more at stake because the points were bigger. Masaki getting very, very involved, making life even tougher for Kunimine. Sasaki really biding his time, even running onto the wet patches of the track just to cool his tyres. In the end, it was Masaki who was quite aggressive. He tried to lead into those final stages. Kunimine just struggling a little bit in the background. You see Yuta Date, he'd recovered very, very well and was battling with Ogura for 4th place. Coming into this final lap, there was Sasaki leading and Kunimine crashing out, and that meant championship Sasaki. Very, very unfortunate for Kunimine, but it was Masaki who actually put in a brave move, and he's the one who ultimately took the victory. Sasaki himself having a moment on exit, doing very, very well to hold on. Date actually running off track, but as you can see, cutting across to take third place. So that meant that Sasaki took the championship, Masaki took the win, but it's going to be Kunimine and Masaki fighting it out for second place in Malaysia in 2 weeks' time.